Either way.
And guys, just so you know, if you can sit or stand, but there is a microphone right here that's kind of nice. If you want to get a little extra volume, you can stand over by it.
Okay.
Good idea.
So Karen is,
Scott is Karen
I
today.
was just gonna say, you look kind of cute over there, Karen. Jeez, thought I looked better than that. Come on. She's on her way to Madison. I think by the time I'm at me, it's like
Well, you
everybody's
can
gonna
fill in the blanks, you know, it's kind of,
whatever. All right, no, it's okay.
yeah, kind of add as you go.
I'll listen very carefully.
All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. My name is Rebecca, and I am the program manager with continuing education at the Marshfield campus here. I've been with continuing education for about 7 years, and I've been pretty much a lifelong resident of Marshfield. And so I, as of I'm sure most of you, have been impacted by the loss of businesses, notably retail businesses, in the past couple of years. I've had friends and family that have worked at those businesses at one time or another. And I know just the other day, a colleague of mine and I were reminiscing about how the mall used to be bustling, especially around the holidays, and how packed it would be. And we asked one of our college student workers if she remembered that. Of course, she did not. But to me, it came as a shock as how swiftly the businesses closed shop, just like dominoes, one after another. And it raises a lot of questions and concerns, I'm sure. It compelled me to kind of coordinate this event so we can have some knowledgeable speakers here that we can ask questions and hear their viewpoints. So we have a full schedule this evening, so I'd like to go ahead and get started. We will have time at the end for questions, but I just want to go kind of through our agenda and introduce our speakers, and thank you to all of our speakers who have come to speak with us this evening. So we do have Mayor Bob McManus here. He's going to be talking about the potential of Marshfield. And then we have Bill Ryan with UW Extension at Madison. And he's going to be discussing the national retail trends and uncertainties. We have Scott Larson, who is with the Marshfield Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He will be discussing the retail closings and how the community has responded. Then we have Josh Miller. He is from the city of Marshfield and will be discussing the overall economy of Marshfield. And we have Rita Blanker, who's a commercial specialist in real estate with 21st Century, who will be talking about market trends in the commercial real estate in our area. And then, like I said, at the end, we'll have time for input and questions. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Mayor Bob McManus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming tonight. This it's nice to see the concern. I'm going to keep my comments very brief, but this is a very big topic. It's one that I see a lot. People get concerned when they see stores changing. And the market is changing really quite drastically. And I think we will continue to see that. Although I think here in Marshfield, we have a tremendous opportunity for growth. And we've got great people here with Scott Larson and Mackie and Josh with the city, and Rita helping bring in great businesses. I think it's great, but I go back to a time, this might date me, but I don't know if any of you remember Woolworth Woolco, and y'all remember there, you can go and they had the ice cream, you can get there, and so you could stay, and it was an experience that you had in there. You can go, and it was similar to like a Target, but it was warmer. And you could actually meet people there to have an ice cream. I remember going there with my grandpa, and it was like a big deal. And then things kind of escalated but that was a big deal for a long time. And then we went to the J.C. Penney's and the Sears, and y'all remember there where you could order out of the catalog? You remember it was like this big, and you can order it. Now, it didn't. If you ordered it at 10 o'clock in the morning, it was not at your door at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. and then you were upset because it took 5 hours to get to your place from New York, and a drone delivered it to you. And this is where, guys and gals, our society is changing. We need everything now. And I believe that we are being trained to do certain things. For instance, there are some stores out there, and you see them. You could go, there are stores right here in Marshfield where they've got the express checkouts, right? We can't wait in line. There's 2 people in front of us, but I'm convinced of this. Stores do this on purpose. If you've ever been to Walmart, great store, I'm not going to put them down. They have 340 checkout aisles in there, and typically 4 of them are open. Yes? And then you've got over here the self-checkout, and a lot of people are like, oh, the computer, I want to stay away from the computer. But when you only have 4 checkout lines, if you're sitting in there and you have a cart full of stuff, you're willing to go over and try the computer, because this is what they know. Once they get you once and they get you twice, when you go in there, you're going to go there now. It helps them. It even has happened, and you've seen this at McDonald's. If you go into McDonald's, you see they've got 5 or 6 different customer service aisles there with the little counters there. And if you go there in the morning, there's big coffee clutches at 7, 8, and 9. They solve all the world problems there. But there's one person there back behind the counter, and then they've got the 4 checkout areas. And you could go there and you can actually order your Happy Meal right there and go completely away from that customer experience. In Toma, they even have a drive-up lane. Let's say you don't have the time to wait in the drive-up. You're gonna text in your Big Mac order, and you just bypass everything. Guys and gals, we're being trained. What we know for sure is that we have a lot of great retail stores here in Marshfield, and it's the experience that people are going in after. My wife just had the anniversary of her 25th birthday. I'm not going to tell you what anniversary it was, but take my word for it. And like a good husband, I waited until the last minute to get her some things that I want. And we ended up going to a store we went out to a store on Central Avenue, and if you have not seen Central Avenue and how that has revitalized, it is really incredible. Went into Merle Norman, and Shelley Babcock owns it, and I mean, you want to talk about a great shopping experience. And that's what people are looking for still. We all remember when Yonkers was here. Do y'all remember when Yonkers was here? And you can go in there, you could buy $5,000 worth of merchandise, but with all of the discounts, it was $42. Right? And then people wondered, well, how could they stay in business? They can't stay in business like that. So therein lies the magic. The other thing is, we hear about all the store closings. It was sad when we heard of Figgy's, right? That's Marshfield's history. It was sad when we heard about Shopko, but we saw it coming. It was sad when we heard of Office Depot. We saw that coming. You all saw that parking lot was not, people would drive to either Wausau or they'd go online. There are people that are at home right now watching their favorite shows, shopping on products that we have here. And I will tell you, we hear the negativity gets the media attention. We have businesses close, right? We're not immune to that here in Marshfield. But you know what we have? We have great businesses here in Marshfield. We have an incredible, world-renowned healthcare facility. Great businesses. If you go up and down Central, and sometimes you hear people say there's nothing to do here. You know what I feel bad for? I feel bad for those business owners that are really out there trying their best, but we have to support them. Because why do businesses go out of business? It's because they don't have enough business. And that's where we get involved in supporting that. So I will tell you that Rita is doing a great job bringing interest here. Josh is doing a great job for businesses that want to take a look. I believe there's a great opportunity here, but I think that we as a community need to shop here first and keep those businesses afloat, but understand we are being trained in a certain way. And there's the market, as you know right now, the world is moving very fast. It's almost like we have to hold on. But I think we're gonna weather the storm just fine. We have to go to our local stores and keep our business here. That's it for me.
Let's stand up. I've been in a Mini Cooper for the past 2 hours. I'm going to go to the microphone. Well, you have one heck of a mayor. What enthusiasm for the community. Really pumped me up. And I'm from Middleton. I'm Bill Ryan with UW-Madison now, the Division of Extension. We moved Extension into the university. And so I'm finding my way after 28 years working on downtown development in the state of Wisconsin. From an economic development perspective, what can make downtowns vibrant again? And Rebecca mentioned, and you caught my thunder again. Sorry. You mentioned growing up and going to the shopping mall. My memory is like your memory. Going downtown into a town of 30,000 people with stores, locally owned stores, and some chains, and a real sense of place, a real sense of community. And then the shopping centers came up in the 70s, and then big box stores came up in the 80s. And downtown kind of went away. But downtown, can you hear me okay back there?
No.
No, okay. I've got kind of a quiet voice here, so I'm going to speak a little bit louder. Oh, you got a microphone? So I won't get into downtowns because we're talking about broader retail today, looking at the more suburban type stores. You know, yesterday I was in a meeting in downtown Milwaukee. I was speaking at the Small Communities, actually it was called the Empty Storefront Conference. And these are mostly brokers trying to figure out how they fill their storefronts that have been empty. And it occurred to me that, you know, real estate's a real cyclical cycle, you know. Cyclical industry goes up and down, like hotels go up and down depending on where the cycle is. And I'm saying to myself, well, maybe retail might come back someday. I mean, are we always going to be tuned into the internet to buy our things, or do we want to touch and feel products in the store? So there might be a new generation, a new type of retail coming up that works well in bricks and mortar format. So I just want to put that on the table to think about as we go ahead, move forward. But tonight, since I'm now part of UW-Madison, I'm going to try to learn how to be a teacher at the university. And one way to do that is by giving you a test. So do you want a multiple choice or a true-false test? True-false? Okay, we'll get that ready for you. I'm going to have someone pass out the... Oh, boy, you're out of the game here. Okay. Because if I just show you PowerPoints with a bunch of graphs and charts, it's going to bore you to death. So I'd rather have you kind of work through some of these questions with me. Or if you want to work with a partner, that's fine too. But we're going to kind of go through this pretty fast. And this will teach you what's going on in retail as opposed to looking at numbers and trying to memorize them at 7:15 at night. So the very first question, question number one, and if you want to turn around and find a partner, or if you want to do it by yourself, that's fine. But we'll go through the answers after you spend a few seconds on them. But the first question deals with why retail is important in the first place. And the question is, retail activities activates the neighborhood, adds quality of life, provides jobs, and generates taxes. True or false? Okay, that's an easy one. Get a little bit harder as we go along here. Number two, in today's market, shopping and buying mean the same thing. Shopping and buying. Okay, well, what's shopping?
Shopping and browsing.
Looking, okay, good. And what's buying?
Purchasing.
Okay, you got it right. The use of technology is, there's something called multi-channel marketing today, in which you're not just going to a store to shop and buy. The way the new consumer is buying things is they may shop, they may go back to their home to the internet, or go to their phone to the internet, go back to the store. It's a bunch of different vehicles that they're using to make that final purchase. It's not a one-stop shop and then buy and out to go. They do a lot of comparison and a lot of testing before they actually purchase. So the multi-channel marketing phrase uses technology and the experience of the store. The experience of the store is one reason why a lot of chains have not stayed in business because they haven't provided that extra something that makes it interesting to be in the store to look at products. Question number 3. Consumers now stop at 2 or 3 stores on a trip. So they may stop at Office Depot and they may stop at Walmart. It used to be that they went to 15 or so stores in a shopping trip. Is that true or false? True. Consumers today are more deliberate in their purchasing. They'll go to Best Buy, but not wanting to walk through the shopping mall. They want to park right out front and see the lights on and go in the store. It used to be that they'd be invited into the shopping mall and spend time there. And the longer you keep them in the shopping mall, the more they're going to spend. That's changed. They want to go right up to the front of the store, park the car, and then park the car in a different part of the parking lot and do their shopping that way. Okay, question number 4. This deals with the supply of retail establishments, the number of stores out there and their square footage. Many retail stores are closing, but dollar stores and discount food stores are expanding. Is that true? True. Yeah. What's an example of a discount food store? Aldi's, yeah. And now in Europe they have Lidl's coming to this country as well. My mom's from Bavaria. I went over to Bavaria this fall, and I saw a little town of 4,000 people, and they have 3 stores almost identical to each other. Penny, Lidl, and Aldi, all parked around a common parking lot. But the butcher shop downtown is closed. They're bypassing downtown just like they are here, and it's losing its Bavarian character. So retail chains are reducing the number of stores they have. As many as 4,000 retail stores are going to be closing this year. Question 5 for you. The square foot of U.S. retails per person, how much retail space is out there in the U.S. for each of you? Any idea? There's 20 square feet of space, of retail space that you guys own individually or own or have allocated to you. Is that a lot or little compared to other countries? It's a lot, yeah. In Germany, it's 2 square feet per person, so we're 10 times more. So we have a lot of this extra space, which is also motivating companies to kind of cut back and close down stores and become more efficient. Okay, the next section deals with ways that large companies are becoming even more efficient, becoming more profitable. They often skip the intermediary. For example, IKEA does in-store warehousing. They don't have a separate warehouse. They do it in their store. Is that true or false? True. Yeah. And there are a lot of other advantages. Mayor, the taxing situation, where does that sit right now in terms of taxing internet purchases? Is that something on the horizon?
Not really here in the city. Not something that we do here. Hopefully we won't do that in the county or the state.
No, there
So
it
it does
is.
provide an advantage to the mail order companies.
Absolutely.
There will be tax.
Showrooming and mail order, it's a mail order eyeglass shop. I'm not sure the name of it. Yeah, I do know what it's called. It's a new way to buy your eyeglasses.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry?
Warby?
Yeah, Warby. Yeah, Warby's on there?
No, just readers.
Okay. Warby's are supposed to be provide this great experience in the store, and then they customize the glasses the next day for you, something like that.
Online, I just see the.
Warby's on.
Yeah, they're all over the place, but they're somehow using the internet to sell their product well and customize it for the customer. Walgreens and Federal Express have an agreement now to ship and pick up from Walgreens stores. Federal Express and Walgreens. Is that true or false? It's true, yeah. It's a new relationship that they have. If you go into Kohl's department store today, who are they working with?
Amazon.
Amazon. You guys shop at Kohl's, don't you? Boy, you all knew that one. Okay, technology. Which of the following are likely to be offered to consumers at a retail store of the future? Okay. Nike store offering virtual basketball playing, where you put on a pair of sneakers and you can see yourself playing basketball with the stars through the virtual. That's already out there, isn't it? I think it's in Chicago. They have that already. But it provides an experience to kind of make that visit to the store more memorable. how about the store that offers a pet fence store where your dog can try to turn off the current to chase a bicycle? Yes or no? False, okay, yeah. We gotta have one false in here somewhere. Okay, general merchandise stores, convenience by ordering ahead and picking up outside. Anyone ever do that? Is it convenient? Yeah, when Walmart does it, I guess other chains are doing it too. So that's true. We're cruising down this list pretty fast. You guys are really with it here. How about no-pay stores? I was in the Chicago train station recently, and there's an Amazon store down there. And it's a no-pay store. You just have to have a Prime membership, I guess, and then you can walk in and get your headrest for the train, whatever it is, and then walk out without paying anyone. Well, they catch up to you through the Amazon. It's not that easy. So that's true. Okay, here's a little tougher one as we get closer to the end of these questions. Jeff Bezos, who runs Amazon, has reshaped the U.S. retail industry through his methods. Some argue it's like the Wild West with few rules around retail, and that they're taking advantage of, depending on who you talk to, different perspectives on Amazon. Amazon has a large workforce, even larger than Walmart. And Walmart's the biggest employer in the country, I think. Is Amazon bigger than Walmart? Yes. Well, not quite, but they have 600,000 employees. So they're not small. 600,000 employees. Second to Walmart. Walmart's the biggest. Amazon sales are through outside sellers, always benefit the small retailer. False. And why do small retailers sometimes complain about Amazon? Anyone know? Sorry? More work. Well, there are all kinds of things that they're accused of, since they have control of your product when they sell it, they can look at your pricing, they can look at your products and maybe duplicate your products and sell it under their name. There are all kinds of, but when you're that big, you're going to get a lot of attention. But they're under the light, just like Walmart was under the spotlight a few years ago for their business practices. I don't know how much of it's true, but they're just very visible today. By the way, do half of you work in retail?
They say you can wear your PJs there.
Oh, yeah. Do many of you work in retail? Because you've got these answers down. Okay. You've been telling everyone the answers, right? There's a smart group here tonight. Okay, here's one here. The Amazon distribution centers constantly work employees to be more productive. It's part of their efficiencies is to make people more efficient in their running around from aisle to aisle and whatever. That's true. Yeah, it's a major part of their. Another part related to their philosophy is number 16. Employees of the company are thoroughly trained in satisfying customer needs. It's part of their employment. They join Amazon, and they, like a good business would train their employees to really take care of the customers. So there's, some iffy things about Amazon and some great things about Amazon. You got to be the judge as a consumer. Okay, we're down to the fate of the shopping mall. And we talked about the U.S. is significantly oversupplied with retail space. That's true. Some malls are developing a niche around health and wellness. So a lot of malls in the country have shut down, and the real estate's sitting there. And they've had some interesting ideas depending on what's going on in the local community. For example, some malls have developed a niche around health and wellness, which makes sense. They perhaps a medical clinic, a drugstore, dental services. They found that purpose for the shopping center. Just like many downtowns today have a purpose, such as the eating and drinking center, entertainment center, personal care center. They've found a little niche for themselves since they can't be everything to everyone anymore. But there have been some fun examples of malls, everything from surfing places in California where you go inside the mall and go surfing. I don't know how you do that, but go-kart tracks, assembly halls, all kinds of things that are fitting into these, what we call gray boxes, underutilized retail stores. But then I can't end this discussion, this quiz, without talking about downtowns and Main Street. Many downtowns are becoming the community social center in place of a retail center. Is that true or false? Okay. A lot more restaurants in downtowns today. People are eating out. Now they're spending more money in dining out than they are in dining at home. So downtowns have found a real good niche for locally grown restaurants and festivals and events and activities to bring people downtown. We do market studies around the state and communities, and we ask the local population what they want downtown. And a place like Belleville, for example, wanted a coffee shop. A small town of 2,000 people, they didn't have a coffee shop downtown. So they've finally used the market analysis to get a coffee shop. And that one business has brought so many people together in the community that they actually won the Reader's Digest Award last month for best community in the U.S., something like that, because they all got involved in signing petitions and whatever. Everything from a coffee shop, that glue that helps bring the people together. So businesses are sure to fail downtown, and these are businesses that you don't want to have downtown, true or false. Restaurants, resale shops, handicraft, artist items, local foods, education, cooking schools, that kind of thing, florists, local gifts. Those things don't work downtown, do they? It's false. They do work. Those are the things that we see over and over throughout the state. And we did a comparison of what kind of businesses are in different types of towns. And no matter what kind of town you are by size, downtowns typically have restaurants, followed by bars, followed by beauty salons and barbershops and things like that. Every town from Milwaukee down, well, maybe not Milwaukee, but from big towns down to very small towns. These are things that work well with Walmart. They don't compete with Walmart. And we have to continue to kind of grow that list to make downtown even more attractive to people. Just about done here. Pop-up shops. Anyone hear that concept?
Yes.
Pop-up shops are appropriate for downtowns. These are like temporary shops, right, that people can test their products and see how they work. Are they appropriate for downtowns, for empty spaces? They sure are. They sure are. Plus, if you get the school involved, it's a good place to teach entrepreneurship, and they're just a good way to get downtown recognized. So you all passed the class. You did a great job tonight. And no one cheated. And I thank you for your time.
All right, I think I'm up next. I'm Scott Larson. I'm the Executive Director with the Marshfield Area Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And I guess my part of this discussion is talking a little bit about the retail closings and how has the community dealt with those retail closings. As was mentioned, as the mayor had talked about, we lost stores like JCPenney's, Yonkers, Shopko, Figgies, Office Max, our local Sears closed. That impacted about 350 workers, mostly part-time workers, but 350 workers in total with that. And the bulk of those workers were with the Figgies closing. One of the things that was done immediately with that announcement in early January was our offices were inundated with phone calls from other businesses, other employers here in the area saying, who do we talk to about getting in front of the employees of Figgies? So there was an immediate demand, which if you're not aware, workforce is a huge issue, not only here locally, but statewide, nationally. We have every sector, every industry sector, every size of business, their biggest issue right now is we can't find enough workers. So if you're going to have some retail closings, now obviously would be the most opportune time, if there ever is an opportune time for those to happen, now would be the case. So one of the things that the chamber did to address that issue right away was we organized 2 job fairs related specifically to the Figgies closings. It was open to any employee or worker who had an interest in doing that. First one was held in late January. We had 60 other businesses participate, and they had 1,000 job openings available. The second one we held was in March. We had 70-plus employers participate in that, and they had 1,500 job openings available. So the main thing that I want to point out is that while these retail closings, while unwelcome, and we certainly don't want to see those occurring, is not representative of what the local economy is. Our local economy is as strong as it's been in probably any time in history. We are at about 3% unemployment, which mirrors what the state rate is, which mirrors what the national rate is. These opportunities then, and these other industry jobs and these other industry growth opportunities are the ones that are sustaining the local economy. And so it's through that sustainability that will create new opportunities then that retail will benefit from. And as Bill had pointed out, and the mayor pointed out, you're seeing a significant dynamic change in retail, particularly retail at the national level. As was pointed out, there were more closings projected for 2019 in retail than there were openings. So we're seeing a retrenching, a reorganization of retail, particularly at the national level, taking place. And these stores that closed were not unique to Marshfield. They closed all over the state, and many other communities are faced with these types of issues. The key was, how do you deal with those closings then? As we stated, we immediately jumped into action, and it's a case of finding opportunities, new opportunities for those employees. And so basically our understanding is, particularly with Figgy's people, any of those folks who wanted a new job have a new job. And we're still, our biggest working point from the Chamber of Commerce perspective is dealing with workforce initiatives. That's our biggest demand we hear from our membership is, what are you doing? How can we help to create more jobs here in the area? We need more people. As it relates to specifically what do we do with dealing with this retail shortage now that's occurring, we have a very strong downtown, very niche related. Downtowns, as Bill had pointed out, are becoming gathering spots. So there are locations now with your downtown where we're trying to create crowds. And the bigger the crowds, the more frequent the crowds are, the more opportunities for new retail opportunities to pop up. And first and foremost out of those are typically your eateries that are the main opportunities that are occurring. That's part of the emphasis behind the Wenzel Family Plaza. The reason for its development was to create a gathering place in the downtown. We think we are on a good way to creating that. The first full year that space has been available, we've been able to generate thousands of people attending events down at that location. And we're looking forward to a full year of opportunity to have go on, another full year of opportunity there. And that's we're starting to see more interest in the downtown spaces. We've had a few more restaurants and other venues open up because there's more activities going on downtown. Organizations like Main Street Marshfield also help, as their focus is the vitality of the downtown. And so they're working with all those businesses that already are in the downtown, all the property owners that already have business locations in the downtown, to fill those locations and put on events and activities to bring people to the downtown, thereby creating a customer base and potential for new businesses to open. Some of the other things that are generated with that is in working with our partners, as I mentioned, Main Street, the City of Marshfield is another key component to that, and I know Josh will talk a little bit more about this, but through the Economic Development Board, the Economic Development Survey was conducted, and part of that was to go out and ask the community about what are the needs and wants as it relates to what the community is looking for. And no great surprise there. Some of the things that came up were more retail, more restaurant opportunities. The thing that goes into that is you need to remember is retail, restaurant, hospitality is driven by numbers. And what numbers do I talk about? Yeah, it's income levels and population bases. And if you have those numbers, that's what drives these retailers in looking at locations. We as a community also need to understand that from a retail standpoint, particularly you want to think about national retailers, we fall within the shopping districts of Plover and Wausau. So those stores that are in Plover, those stores that are in Wausau also count Marshfield as part of their retail area, service area. So when you wonder why can't we have a Red Lobster, why can't we have, you name whatever store it is that you would like to see here. Chances are it probably already is in either Wausau or Plover. And so then we would need to show those retailers that there is significant more customer base here in the Marshfield area than what is already part of their service market in order for them to expand. One opportunity that has presented itself as retail changes now is Kohl's a great example of that. For the longest time, we wanted to have a Kohl's in this community. And a few years ago, we were able to get Kohl's. The reason we were is that Kohl's was doing a test market, a pilot program, creating a smaller footprint store. And we were one of 3 pilots that they were going to build. And so far, that's worked very well here in town. It's a little bit smaller footprint, but it works very well, which is what national retailers are seeing. Smaller footprints with a varying variety of activity within that store. As was mentioned, Kohl's is now partnering with Amazon to do returns. It's no great surprise there. The more people that are returning, Amazon online sales are rivaling in-store purchases. So it's no surprise that as people are making those purchases and they have returns, if you can get them to come into your store, that's an opportunity for a sale. So we're looking for more of those opportunities. Retail and entertainment are changing in those ways. A key word I would use is experience. People now are looking for an experience when they are out shopping or they're out for entertainment. You may have noticed it in movie theaters if you frequent those. You're seeing changes there. Different seating arrangements. Many of them are opening and having regular restaurants inside the theaters. So those are all about creating a different experience for their customers. And that works its way through to retail stores as well. As they look at smaller footprints, but offering more experience for their customers and more options for their customers. Other things that we're doing to try and stimulate retail and development here in the community is the Chamber is a member of the International Council of Shopping Centers. And with that membership, we're able to attend conferences. They hold a couple of national conferences. Fortunately, they're fairly close, usually in Milwaukee or Chicago. We make a point to attend those because it enables us to be in front of all the national retailers and all the national real estate development companies. Gives us an opportunity to see what the trends are in national retail. So it gives us an idea of what are the hot trends, what are the cold trends, who's looking for space, who's retrenching. And so that's that type of information that we bring back. It's the type of leads that we get that we are able to follow up on. We're able to work with our real estate partners like Rita to help to encourage and find those prospects to come to Marshfield and fill opportunities. We've also done things such as bringing in national development firms to give us their perspective of how they see the community of Marshfield. A lot of times when you're in the community on a full-time basis, sometimes your vision maybe isn't as objective as you think it might be. So it's good to have some of these other parties come in and give an analysis of how they see your community. We do take advantage of those opportunities, and just this year, earlier this year, we had one such development firm come in and present to a number of individuals, business leaders here on what's their perspective of the real estate market and the development opportunities here in Marshfield. Again, working with the city's been a great partner. They're very active. They want to see growth occur here, so they have tools available to them, and they're not shy about using those tools. They're active about utilizing tax incremental finance, developer agreements, creating zoning changes if necessary, so that we can redevelop, repurpose properties. And that's really where we're at right now. If you look at Figgy's as an example, they have 3 major facilities. 2 of those facilities now have already been purchased and are being redeveloped by local companies. We still have the large distribution center that we're working to try and find a new purpose for, but 2 of those 3, that's pretty good considering it's not even been a full year since they've closed. We're also working on the Shopko building, Office Max as well, and Rita probably can talk some more about what's going on with those properties. But that's the important aspect, is to find, because it's probably not going to be necessarily retail as it was. If it is retail, it'll be probably much smaller footprint, maybe more retailers in those spaces. More than likely, it'll be a completely different utilization of those spaces. But those are the things that we're interested in doing. We market those properties both statewide, because the state of Wisconsin has a listing mechanism that we're able to participate in. And then, like I said, we work with our real estate agents as well, and all of their national listing formats that are available to get that property information out there. So those are some of the things that are being done. We continue to work on, and we just know that we're constantly working, making contacts, reaching out to both local and outside parties to find uses for available properties. And that will conclude my comments. I'll pass it on to Josh.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I really just kind of wanted to touch on the activities that are going on in Marshfield. We hear a lot of retail stores and things like that closing, but it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of really good things going on, and there's a lot of really good trends going on in Marshfield's economy. So what I do is I'm the Development Services Director for the city. So my department, we oversee zoning, planning, inspections, and economic development. So kind of get our hands in all parts of it, from the beginning kind of to the development agreements, to the inspections and making sure things are done according to code and to state. And then the complaints. That's probably the least favorite part of anybody's job, is the complaint department, but we get to deal with all of it. So just to give you a little snapshot of what's going on in trend-wise, for the number of permits that were taken out in 2017, and this includes electrical, plumbing, sign permits, fence permits, sheds, new homes, we had just over 1,000 permits. And that's in 2017. To date, in 2019, we've had 1,357 permits. So we're well over our 2017 numbers, which is a good sign, meaning you're seeing activity, people are doing things. Some of them are remodels, they're not full, commercial developments, but it's a good trend to see people taking out building permits and stuff. As far as net new construction numbers, so this is the total value of new properties being constructed in a given year. In 2017, we had over $16 million of new value added to the Marshfield economy, or to the Marshfield tax base, and that's net new. So anything that got torn down is excluded from that. In 2019, we had $41 million of new projects, new value. So significant increase in trend. In 2018, we had $34 million. So you see the trend upwards. That means we're growing. Things are happening. New businesses are growing, existing businesses are growing. So really good trends to see. People worry about population trends in Wood County. The Department of Administration has projected the Wood County to decline in population. Since 2017, we've actually grown, though, by Department of Administration estimates. So in 2017, we had 19,061 people. Our estimates just came out in October. We had 19,316 people. So a lot of good trends, a lot of good things happening just from that basis. And to touch on a little bit some of the new growth that's going on, residentially, we've had 36 housing units, apartment units being constructed already this year. We expect another, in the next probably 6 months or so, another 108 apartment units over by the high school. Those should be open and completed. We've got another development just east of Walmart, and that'll be another 160 units by 2022. So all told, in about a 3 or 4 year time span, we'll have 304 apartment units being constructed. So so when we get new workforce, we'll have places to live. So that's a positive. And then looking at single-family construction, from 2010 to 2017, we averaged about 10 new single-family or new residential dwellings per year. Since that time, in 2018, we had 13 single-family homes and 10 duplexes. So 33 dwelling units in single and two-family. In 2019, we were projected, or we currently have 12 single-family homes permits taken out and 5 duplexes. So we have another 2 single-family homes and 5 duplex permits kind of on the queue yet, but they haven't turned everything in. So really kind of in a similar pace in the last couple of years. And that's good because we're seeing new housing growth. One of the things that we've seen a reduction in, though, is the available single-family lots and single and two-family lots. So obviously, you need to have lots available for people to build new homes on. And so that was a problem, a trend that we started to notice the last couple of years. We've heard it from the realtors. And so we've this past year, the city has worked with the Economic Development Board, developers, realtors, and bankers to try to come up with a program to try to help open up new lots and provide some infrastructure. The biggest challenge in providing infrastructure is the cost. And banks and lending institutions have a hard time lending money for speculative housing projects. It's hard for people to get financing to do that. So the city has put towards $500,000 in the 2020 budget to help address some of that. So, and we have a capital improvement plan over the next 3 years to invest $1.5 million in that program. So we're excited to see that to try to help open up some lots. One of the things that we see happen, and we've heard it from realtors and local companies, is that people will come in here looking for a job, and one of the things they want to do is see if there's available housing. And if there's not available housing, and housing that they like, they may not take the job in Marshfield. So you're missing out on talent, you're missing out on potential good recruits because we don't have available housing. Even though MLS doesn't have there's not a lot of homes available in different price ranges for people to find, to have options. And everybody likes choices, everybody likes options. That's why the internet's kind of, the place to shop, it seems like. But without those options, you lose good candidates to other communities potentially. So we've heard that from HR departments and realtors. So we're working towards the housing program. We also have a housing rehabilitation program that we've had in place for a while, but it helps low-income folks that need home repairs or emergency repairs to their homes, zero-interest loans that they don't have to pay back until the home sells. So we have a new administrator for that program, so we're very excited to get that up and running and starting to promote that to help improve the housing stock for low-income families. And I also want to touch on some other things that have been going on, just kind of looking back from 2018 to 2019 and beyond, just to look at some of the recent developments. So if you've looked on the East Industrial Park on the east side of Marshfield, you probably saw this gigantic building going up in the last 2 years or so, the Packaging Corporation of America. That's a 250,000 square foot manufacturing facility of boxes, and with another 23,000 square foot office space. So they provided 100 jobs, and they're continuing to grow. And so that's a new recent development that started opening, or that opened in 2018, and they're continuing to grow. They're looking to expand their parking lot already. So that's exciting. Quality Tank Solutions, they're also in that East Industrial, or the Norwood Industrial Park. A couple years ago, they put in a 40,000 square foot facility before they were even finished with that, they had already added, they already had plans for another 20,000 square foot addition to that facility. And in 2020, they have already broken ground. They're going to build a 60,000 square foot staging facility to unload their trucks and stuff. So that's significant. That's a really great company and company that's growing. In 2018, and the mayor knows all too well, Forward Bank opened their 55,000 square foot office building on the north end of town. It's a beautiful 3-story building. And so that's the great office space in there. And another facility that is probably a little lesser known is Complete Filtration Resources. They're an office space that they hire engineers and drafters, and they're really well-paying jobs. But they built about a 9,000 square foot office building just off of Veterans Parkway, so it's off of Hume Avenue. Beautiful new office building that opened last year. But they're hiring, they're hiring really high paying jobs. So it's they work with custom fabrication, and they do filtration type of industry, so they work in that sector. But really a great company, and they're growing. We finished a new rail spur in the Yellowstone Industrial Park, so that helps serve PCA. And what's great about that is that will help to serve future growth as that industrial park continues to expand. The Summit Dental, which is just across the street from Mackey, the chamber, they opened in the end of 2018, so a new dental facility in downtown, a beautiful new building. Hewitt Meats, if you've ever been down to the business park, they started as, they're originally just to mainly do meat processing and sales, but they ended up doing lunches and providing lunch service to the Mill Creek Business Park, and it's been great. They've been very busy at their lunch hours, and that's kind of a really great new additional business for them. And then, of course, the Wenzel Family Plaza opened in July of 2018, and that's it's been talked about from Scott and others. Just it's a place-making space in the downtown, multi-generational. It was important from the Wenzel family to have it suitable for kids and adults and the elderly. Violet Wenzel, who was the matriarch of the family, she lived in Astor across the street, and she would come down every day and make sure that the contractors are building it how they should be building it, and she made sure that project happened, and we were honored to have her at the ground or the ribbon cutting back in July of 18. So we just had a report on that. They held 70 events this past year, and it's really brought a lot of people downtown, and we're excited to see how that continues to be programmed and move forward. So that's just stuff in 18. In 2019, this past year, we finished the McMillan Wildwood Trail. So it's a 2.1 mile trail extending from Wildwood Park, going all the way up to McMillan Street. So it's a excellent biking facility that's added to our already growing biking facilities in Marshfield. So really great addition to that. One thing we're really happy about from the city staff is we sold City Hall to not a Marshfield developer, but a regional developer from Rudolph, and converting that to office space, and so to get that back on the tax roll and get that off our hands, so we don't have to be landlords to a 70,000 square foot building, is exciting for staff and exciting for the downtown. You open those spaces up for additional business to come downtown, and we're excited to see what will happen there. Obviously, the YMCA, that was a new project that fully opened in 2018. Beautiful new facility with more athletic facilities and weight room, and the child care and alternative school is there. So excited to have that. This just opened last month, the new Cougar Exhibit and Welcome Center. So that's again, increased the room for the kitties 10 times for their cage. The cougars have a lot more natural habitat to be in, and they get more space and well designed. They really put a lot of thought into this. The Economic Development Board, along with the Marshfield Utilities and others, sponsored a water display. So it's an interactive feature for children to kind of see how the whole water cycle works, and they can push a button and the rain comes down, and they can see it flow down the stream and stuff. So if if you have children, grandchildren, or just want to check it out yourself, there's just really a neat water display, and they're adding an electric display too there as well. And that will also allow you to get in the wintertime when the kitties are getting fed. I have cats at home, that's why I just think of them as big kitties. But when in the wintertime, they actually have heaters outside the window, so you'll get the cougars to come by there, so they'll find a warm spot. You'll get to see them up close and stuff. So just excited to have that along with the new bear exhibit. So I mean, we really have a wonderful zoo facility. And if you had a chance to go to a high school football game, I finally had a chance to go to one just a couple weeks ago. World-class facility for a high school. It's just unbelievable. The new turf facility, the stands, the experience. We talk about experience. I love Beal Stadium. I played football there. I grew up in Marshfield, but and I was a little skeptical. I was like, oh, I like being close to the field, and it's just a wonderful experience. But when you walk into there, you feel like you're in a really high-class facility. From the ticket booth to they've got a store and the concession stand, just the giant replay booth, just incredible. So there's a lot of things going on in Marshfield, and so I just I'm a cheerleader for Marshfield, but these are actual statistics and things that are going on, and I've got a long list of things, and I won't continue to bore you, but or hopefully not bore you, but continue to get you excited about what's going on in Marshfield. And just a couple other things that I think is also exciting, and I know Rita's had some involvement is the MAPS, the Marshfield Area Pet Shelter. That broke ground in August, and that's going to be opened hopefully in the spring. And so that'll be a beautiful new facility for the animals and stuff. And that was a city partnership. So a lot of these things aren't done just by one single entity. We've got a lot of people involved, from Mackey to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Main Street, local businesses. So it's wonderful to be part of all of those things. So just a couple things that are going on yet. We talked about the industrial park, the Quality Tank Solutions. I mentioned they're adding a 60,000 square foot facility to their campus there. Custom Fab is building a 20,000 square foot manufacturing facility, again just off of Hume. And so that's already got steel up, and you can see that pretty well. In 2020, the new aquatic center will begin construction, so that's very exciting. And I know the mayor is heavily involved in that project, and so I think that starts in July of next year, and it'll be closed for about a year, and then it should be opened back up in 2021. So we talk about businesses as part of the economy, but we also talk about the places and the things that we can do, the quality of life, quality of place that really are what people, if we want to attract talented people, if we want to attract young people, millennials, those are the things that they're looking for in a community to call their home. So it's not just, well, we got to have retail, we got to have business. You need all of those things. And so let me see what else. There's Pizza Ranch. That's going in the old Figgy's building. So beyond just the two giant facilities of Figgy's, we also have the outlet space that's being taken over by a Pizza Ranch. So we're in the old Shopwell Plaza, essentially. And then Menards is expanding, so their warehouse area has an expansion project going on. The Hampton Inn, that's been kind of a year-long process. Originally, would have been started already, but there was some setback a little bit, but they starting demolition here this winter yet, so that should be going forward. And so there's really a lot of exciting things going on in Marshfield, and I think overall the economy is pretty strong. And one other thing that I think that was about it. Scott had mentioned talking about a survey, and we did an Economic Development Board survey. We had almost 1,000 people respond to the survey. So talking about people getting engaged and providing feedback into the community, that was a great response. I don't have a lot of data on it, but it was very strong, weighted towards people want more retail, they want more restaurants, and that's certainly understandable. That survey is available online. Those results are available online. We put together a good summary for it. We didn't just have you take the survey for our own, just to have and be done with it. We plan to utilize that information. We are going through an extensive strategic planning process, both with the Economic Development Board and Wood County with a USDA grant coming up. We're going to be doing some strategic planning, and that information, along with a new survey that we just sent out this week, will be utilized to help kind of craft or provide some direction for the decision makers in the community. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ada.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say. You guys have said it all. I think for me, in real estate, I only do commercial, so I do get a lot of calls from developers, from people that I've had working relationships with that are involved with me on the commercial websites. And I think the most frustrating part for me is when you see like a Shopko or the mall or Office Max, and people are like, oh no, Marshfield's falling apart. No, it's not. Marshfield is stronger than ever. Every city, everywhere has a cycle of what they do. You have changes. And there are changes that are going to be coming. And I wish I could tell you some of these changes, but I can't. Because when these developers call and I sign confidentiality agreements, I cannot say different businesses that are coming in. But we do have some strip centers coming in. We have some new franchises that are coming in. We have a lot of exciting things that are truly, truly happening. So if you hear anybody out there that says Marshfield is going backwards or terrible, it's not. It's growing, it's strong, it's stronger than ever. And we're getting stronger every week by different calls coming in. So Office Max, Shopko, they will be full. It might not be in the next 2, 3, 4 months, might not be 6 months, but they will be full, and it will come very, very soon. And I wish I could share more with you. Sorry. But it is good stuff. It really, really is. Good.
I guess one thing I'll just touch on, and we touched on a little bit, is, yeah, there's a lot of good things, and there are, but I mean, some of the challenges that we have, I think, are we talked about workforce. I touched on housing. Housing is a big challenge, and we're working towards trying to solve it. Childcare is another one, and it's one that probably gets overlooked a lot, but it doesn't get overlooked a lot by families that need it. And it's a challenge, and Mackie has worked, put together a task force to try to see how we can help with try to solve those problems, and it's a tough one. It's a very, very difficult problem to try to solve. But it's not just a Marshfield problem. All these problems we're talking about aren't just Marshfield problems. These are problems that you see regionally, state, and nationally. So we're not alone in a lot of these things. And a fourth one that you're starting to see more and more is succession planning for businesses. A lot of times, you see businesses that they close, and not because they weren't successful, but in some cases they wasn't planning to figure out the next person to take over and to run the business going forward. So we've seen a handful of businesses close in the last couple of years, and it really was just because they wanted to be done with the business, and it wasn't because a lack of success or anything. And that's a message we need to get out there, because people are like, oh, that must not have worked. And in reality, it was working. They just didn't have someone to take it over. So those are things that we're working towards. We won't have all the answers and can't solve all the problems, but those are things that we're aware of and actively trying to work towards.
And the housing and businesses do go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
They do. We have to have the housing here in order for the people who work here to live here. They don't want to have to drive. And we do have a lot of people that work here, but they drive to Wausau and Stevens Point because there's nowhere for them to live here. Or they'll live here, but their family doesn't want to live here. We had a physician come in, and he brought his wife and children in, and all he could find was this rental, and she went up to him and said, you got to be kidding me. Really? And they had to live there for 6 months until they could find something better, until they finally found a house that really worked for them. But it is tough. Housing is very tough.
Yeah, a lot of these things go hand in hand. You're exactly right. The aspect that we as an organization focus on is in order to recruit talent, which is what we need to be able to sustain our strong economy here. You have to have quality of place, and you have to have the housing for those people to live here. It's hard to attract somebody to a community if there's no place for them to live. Now we've addressed the short-term housing with the rentals, so we've done a good job of addressing that. Now the focus is turned to single family. And as Rita and Josh have mentioned, that's going to be critical for us to be able to continue to recruit people to the area. And we do need these people. Josh mentioned it a little bit. Through my position, there's lots of work that's been done on demographic statistical analysis. And the 20-year trends, particularly for Wood County, are not good at all. And so we're looking at that, trying to take steps now to make sure that that trend is not the one that happens. We want to break that trend and change that so we are a growing county, not a shrinking county. And we're not alone here either. I've got a map that we've shown. There's only one county in the whole state 20 years from now that's growing. That's Dane County. Otherwise, the rest of the state's red. So that's a trend we don't want to see happen, and so those are things that we're trying to address and take steps. And how do you do that? That's working with your partners in creating quality of place activities, plazas, additions to the zoos, entertainment opportunities, more retail opportunities, and then housing. You've got to have housing available so that people can see that there's a place for them to live. And we know we have the jobs. That's not a problem. We know we have those. We just now need the people to fill them.
Excellent. I would like to open it up to the floor for any questions that folks may have.
I don't want to commandeer your seminar, but I have a few things I wanted to follow up on here. One of those things was you talked about the mall. For a long time, I couldn't figure out why that isn't a good thing yet today. Climate control in this part of the country, why people don't go to the malls.
They don't.
Now, we're not unique in any way, but when I asked some people, and I didn't really get an answer until the strip mall. When people, businesses from the mall moved over to the Walmart strip mall, I said, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's like Mr. Ryan talked about. He called it one-stop shop, buy and go. You go in, you get what you want, you go out. Men used to do that. You know, they go to the hardware store and they wouldn't look around much. They go in, they get what they need to get out. The wife is looking around, oh, look at all this stuff. And that kind of a stereotype is no longer something that happened culturally that changed, and nobody really noticed it all that much. So when you talked about the downtown and the retail part of it, a lot of people complain because there's nothing, you know, it's used books, used places, small, but where's the places like the Pennies and the Yonkers? Well, they're not there because they didn't make it, and it wasn't because they were necessarily mismanaged. I mean, it's just, we're not alone in that. But those are the kind of things that I think attract, you know, people go to Minneapolis, or they'll go to Appleton, or they'll go to Mall of America. They want that big store where everything is there. And I don't understand why they'll go there, but they won't support it here. And I guess Scott touched on it, is that we're not living in a vacuum here. You know, we're in central Wisconsin, where we're in other people's market. They're poaching our people to go to the Wausau, and even the Wausau Mall can't make it, you know, for lack of business savvy, I don't know, but trends or however. But we talked about the closings. One of the big gut punches that we had was when WIC shut down. And at that time, it was like none of those people could find jobs. And I said, what, did everybody's brains fall out? Well, how come we can't get people, you know, into positions that they can make it? And the question is, like even with Figgies, when you had the job fair, did the workers fare well in the jobs that they went to? Were they similar in wages? I think that's a thing all across the country. Everybody's got jobs, but we used to call them burger flippers, and now you're happy to get one because it's your side hustle. It's a second job that you're doing now because not everybody can make it on just one thing. So again, we're not unique in that either. Kohl's, I think, came in and benefited from Yonkers and Penny's demise. I don't remember the exact timing on how they applied for their building permit, if that was something that they saw coming. Why didn't they take that space? Is it in their business plan to own real estate more so than to rent a spot in a mall? Are malls outpricing themselves, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, I'm not sure about what their pricing, but Kohl's opened in November of 2016, and Yonkers didn't close until 18, June of 18, I believe, or around mid-18. So yeah, and Kohl's is what probably will keep them all alive till we can find some other utilization for those stores. And it's been in the paper and talked about the city working with the mall on a project and the mall doing some redevelopment, and they're still working towards that. It's again taking some delays, but there are still plans to redevelop the mall. And we talked about boxes and gray boxes. Well, they're looking more at the mid-box size. So the big box stores are the Walmarts and that. Mid-box are smaller retailers that fit into more of a strip mall type of thing. So obviously we can't, don't know how that'll all play out, but that's the plan right now. And so we're still working with the developer on that, and that's not quite public yet exactly how that's all going to play out. But
One of the things I'd like to do is follow up with some of the comments you made, is that as it relates to some of the retail shopping and that, and you mentioned that it's a case of, well, okay, people like to go to other areas, like to go to Mall of America. Why? What's different about Mall of America? It's not just a shopping mall, is it? It's creating a different experience. There's an amusement park in it. There's all these other things to do there. That's, if you remember, I mentioned, think of that word experience. Shoppers are looking for an experience now when they do things. If it's just shopping, they're doing that online. Whether they're buying from Amazon, they're buying from Kohl's, they're buying from Walmart. Now they may go in and look at some things in the brick and mortar store. But a lot of their orders are happening at home. When you can buy cars online without driving them, you think people aren't buying everything else online? Absolutely. So that's what I use the term in the world of Amazon. That's what brick and mortar retail is up against now. And so you have to find a way to differentiate yourself from that online experience. Because when you can sit at home in your jammies in your comfy chair and buy whatever it is you want to buy and have it there no later than 2 days, that's the competition brick and mortar has to deal with. So they have to think differently. They have to operate differently in order to attract people to their stores.
The mall was an experience in the 80s.
Yeah, 80s. We're not in the 80s anymore.
I mean, why can't the kids sing there for Christmas or do the things or draw?
You mentioned it. Why is it strip malls? Because people want to drive up in front of the store they want to go into, and they go in and they go out and they go out. Strip malls even are starting to fail on that because people can, again, sit at home, order what they want, and have it delivered to them.
It really gets into what I was talking about before and the way we've been trained to everything has to be right now. You see people get upset, realistically, if they're out and eat and they don't have their beverage or whatever right now. A dining experience is different. Mm-hmm. Have you seen this before when you go out to eat wherever? And I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't have a phone. I had one. Y'all remember the ones with the little holes and you would go around and click, 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 click? I guess I'm really aging myself. This is not good. Now, the experience at many restaurants, you see it. Families are there and they're doing this. Everything is changing. But you bring up some very, very good points. And Scott is right, the experience. Now, we got together, Scott, EDB, and we had probably 30 different people there to talk about this subject that we're talking about tonight. One of the things that came out is there are a lot of experiences here, right here in Marshfield. We started a show over it. It's called Experience Marshfield. And there are so many things that are taking place right here that are simply amazing. One of the businesses that we did a show on that just opened, that bought the Figgies building, Hostreiter Industries. This is a major business. A lot of people don't even know who they are or what they do. It is a major business that does major things, not just in the United States, throughout the world, right here. There are so many different things. Mill Creek, one of the things that came up is there was one person that went to Marshfield High School, She graduated high school, had to get out of Marshfield. Went to Milwaukee to go to school for a while, then went over to Switzerland, Sweden, something with an S. She was across in the world there playing professional volleyball. Her pull to come back to the city that she loved was so strong. They now own a business here. A very, very big point to consider is, when you talk about jobs, that was a big one. Right now, as Scott said this before, this is one of the things that we hear all the time. Our employers don't have enough people. Right now, if somebody wants a job, you can go to PCA, you can go to Marshfield Door. You have a starting wage of $19 an hour. They can't find people. So many different places. You got a world-class healthcare center here right now with over 800 jobs. Many of them medical, many of them not. Right here. There are so many jobs that are available, but what these people need is quality of life, which is why in our zoo that we've talked about. Did you know that our bear exhibit? Have y'all gone to see the bears? They're huge, and if you get a chance to go over there and when they feed them, it is just amazing. They're so delicate. They throw these berries there, and the big bear just takes a berry. It is amazing. Do you know that that bear exhibit is the largest zoo exhibit in the country? It's bigger than the San Diego Zoo. It's bigger than the LA Zoo, all the different zoos right here in Marshfield. And so these are the things that we really, really have to understand. That's why the new pool project is so important. I hope you'll look into it. Because what we have to do here is we have to keep people here. In the summer, people want things to do. They want to be able to go to the pool, not just have a pool. People want to climb on things and jump off things and have things in the middle that squirt and do all this other things and be able to get their food and have a family fun time. We need to keep them here because otherwise this is what they do. They go to Weston. They leave Marshfield, they drive out of Marshfield, they go up there to go to the water feature up there, they shop up there, they have dinner, they fill up with gas, and they come back. If we can keep them here, we keep our economy vibrant. I mean, look at this. This is what I want you to get. This is what Marshfield has. We have incredible elementary, middle, and high schools, both public and private. We have a university right here. We're in it. Do you know how lucky we are to have this facility right here? We have trade schools. Everything that you can want is right here. And we need to get that story out more. I mean, right, you could go here, I'll get you in just a second.
Okay.
You can go here and you can get a master's degree here. 4-year degree in a couple of different things right here. It is amazing what we have. But people don't always look at it that way. But if you look at a lot of the things you're talking about, they center about quality of life. But let me tell you something. The biggest thing right now, if people want a good paying job, we have them here. Sir, you had your hand
Oh,
up.
yes. This is for Scott. Scott, you mentioned the plaza, the Wenzel Plaza, and you also mentioned restaurants. But how many restaurants are open and surround Wenzel's Plaza when it is active? That is, how many restaurants are situated on Chestnut and 3rd Street?
Well, not as many as we'd like. That's the whole point of creating the
Are there
plaza.
any at all
Yeah. Yeah,
that
there
are
are.
open when the plaza is busy?
Yeah, there's a couple. Not as many as we like. And again, it's not exactly the chicken and the egg. It's a case of if you want more of those facilities, what do you have to have? You have to have people, potential customers.
Right.
So by creating the gathering place, we're bringing people down to that area. Well, what do they typically want to do? Well, either before or after events down there. They want to go someplace to eat or
Well,
to have
yeah,
a drink.
or a restaurant.
So
But
as
there
we,
isn't any.
It's coming. That's the whole point of this, is that you have to create these spaces to create the volume of people so that if somebody has an idea of wanting to open a business, there's a good opportunity that it'll succeed because they can show that there's enough customer base down there to survive.
And there is some.
Yeah, and we're seeing more and more of that activity
Yeah,
taking
but
place.
The ones that are there are not open when the plaza is busy.
Well, but if you look at those, if you do an example over in Wausau, they've got their big facility.
400 block, yeah.
It's a nice facility, and the restaurants are all around. So, but you might have to walk a block or 2 or 3. That's the same thing that we want in the downtown area. It'd be nice to get segways. I'm not going to get on it, but people do those things. But you might walk across it. You might walk over to Mojo's, or you might walk down a couple of blocks to Krabby's, or go down to Nuts, or you can go down to the rivers, so that we want. It's a gathering place, or they can go down to 2.5 Cups or Uptown Coffee. So there's all different things. Now, to your point. Are they going to be open at 10 o'clock at night when they are, when there's a concert?
Yes.
Most of them won't, but some will. But that whole concert experience is a different experience. So they're there. To answer your question, they are there. They're not right across the street, but
They're coming.
I wouldn't be surprised if you saw it soon.
It'll come, because again, part of the economics of it is that, and Rita deals with this, and the mayor deals with this in his normal daily job, is that, if somebody has a business idea and wants to open a restaurant or wants to open up some sort of hospitality business, chances are they're going to need to borrow money to do that. Well, if somebody's going to lend you money, they want to have a pretty good idea that you're going to have enough customers to stay open, pay your bills, pay your loan. Well, you can't do that unless you've got some documentation that you're creating a crowd in the downtown, that they can show that there's enough people, enough potential customers coming to that downtown area to keep you afloat as a business. And so that's why some of these things have to. 400 block, when that opened in Wausau, there weren't all the stores and restaurants around there when they opened it. So that was why they did it too. It's a gathering spot. By creating a mass of people down there on a regular basis, presents opportunities then for entrepreneurs to take advantage of that crowd that's down there. And to get to your point, will they eventually be open if they're smart business people, they will be. So we just got to give it a little time to let this happen, let these crowds develop, and let these entrepreneurs work.
I guess one thing I was going to say is that some of the things that the Main Street is doing and different things that I participated in that area, it seems like and I hate to associate myself with the bars, but like when they do the wine, you can't get tickets. I mean, if you don't buy your ticket the first week, they're sold out. And so to me, I'm always disappointed in the fact, well, why is it once a year or twice a year when United Way helps pick it up? Why is it, I know that Krabby Dave's just started, they're doing murder mysteries or, that kind of thing. I thought, what a great idea in a bar environment. It takes the initiative of that owner and the people who want to work there and do that kind of thing. But I think there would be, I know the millennials, they don't, play rec league and then go out for pizza afterwards. That's what I hear anyway. But, that's what we used to do, and you had always that avenue of somehow you got together with people, and then you went and you did things together with those people. And I'm finding that is successful in Marshfield when it occurs. I see people there. I found out about some of the phenomenal businesses that are in their downtown through that I had no idea that were there.
Right.
And yes, I went back and shopped there afterwards because now I know that that's what that business provides. But it seems like they sometimes they'll get the niche, they'll find something, but it doesn't seem like it carries on or maybe goes as far as they could. And maybe that's part of their business. They have to be careful of what they're doing as well.
Well, part of it, there's statutory requirements from the state that only allows you to do so many of those types of events.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because otherwise, what a great opportunity, and I would agree with you. It's great, and it's great to see that when they put those on, that they sell out so quickly. So that's a great opportunity to see that. And those are things that, again, through Main Street, through the Chamber, through CVB, through the city's efforts, we're trying to, through those businesses, we're trying to create those opportunities to create a gathering point in the downtown so that people do come down and see all the opportunities, because you're exactly right. There are people now because of these events that now have seen stores that they did not know existed in town. And so now there's new potential customers for those store owners.
Can I just say something quick? I used to be the Northway Mall manager, if you all remember way back when it was called that. And we were 100% occupied at the time. But you're right, it was all around, people that just come to the mall. We had events every single weekend, because I know, I was there every single weekend. It was the train show, farm show, craft show, bridal show, card show, home and garden show, antique show, carnival, all of that. And then I got smart, I'll quit this job and I'll open a store. I had the toy store for over 5 years. Treehouse Toys, if you remember that. But again, I had to generate that experience. I had tea shopping. I had all kinds of classes with yo-yo classes, you name it. You have to bring the experience in. People just don't come. And just like here at the university, we're always trying to think of that cutting edge. And it seems like the millennials, and a lot of them do go to school here, they don't want that one-time thing. They want that exciting, cutting edge. They will go to different towns because that's what's exciting. Your downtown escape rooms. They want diversity. They want to go to something like Rotary Lights. They will go to another Rotary Lights, but in a different community. They don't think twice about driving clear across the state to go find entertainment. So that's why you find a lot of the different type of events are really exciting to them. You know, and the thing is our community has to support it as well. You know, don't stay home when it's the parade coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's my little spiel. We've always had entertainment, so.
Question on the single-family housing. No lots or no builders, or why aren't we building single-family houses?
So right now, we have about 80 lots, that if you would say, that's available within the city. Of that, some of them are landlocked, or some of it, you know, they own a lot across the street and they don't want anybody to build there. So we actually have buildable lots right now. We only have about 30, which means, based on Josh's numbers, we have a 3-year history, or a 3-year supply, and then we're kind of run out of lots. So what the city is looking to do, and the city got into giving a developer, if somebody built a new home, we'd give them up to $7,500 once they took occupancy. So now we're going to try to help developers build some of these larger areas that you see where it's just vacant area. But for a developer to go in and put in the infrastructure, you know, if you're going to put in 20 to say 25 homes, to put that infrastructure in is about $1 million. Well, if a developer, before they even pour the concrete for the, you know, for the basement, they've got to put in $1 million and they got to carry that cost for years. It's too expensive. So we're looking at that from the city standpoint, which Josh said we're looking to put about $500,000 in to help with that, because we can see a much bigger vision. You know, if we could get 25 to maybe 30 new homes, that's a big tax base. You get that $500,000 back pretty quick. So, but that is the issue.
Bob, you just moved into town not too long ago, right?
What's that?
You moved into town not that long
About
ago.
7.5 years
I moved
ago.
to town 3 years ago, and to find a modern ranch home, 2-car garage, not a 1-car garage in the 60s. There's a lot of, I don't call them, what do you call them, less desirable homes.
Right.
But the in-between range is really hard to find. There's some nice.
It is, and a lot of the
That
people.
middle range is really something decent, it's really hard to find.
It is, and you know, people love living in Marshfield so much. That's what a lot of them do, that like the home that you want, the ranch, that 1-story, 2-car garage. They realize that if they sell their home to go over to this one, the price they're gonna have to pay, they just say, well, forget it. I'm gonna take out a loan for $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 and fix out my house. the way I want it. So now you've got an increasing demand and still less supply. What does that do to the price of our homes? This brings up everybody's favorite subject, taxes. Many people think that our taxes here are high. If you look at our 3 surrounding areas, the tax rate's going to go to 9.55. Our Wausau's at 9.99. Stevens Point is in the 10. Our friends at Wisconsin Rapids, they're at 12.30. Our taxes are high because our homes have so much higher value, because there's so much demand to get in them. That's what causes values to go up, is demand. So we're very fortunate there. Taxes are kind of related to that. And so we don't like higher taxes, but we do like higher values, and it's kind of a catch-22.
So it just seems to me, in terms of retail, that the elephant in the room is online purchasing. That's the elephant in the room. That's Amazon and the online systems. And those systems, the Amazons, they're doing more and more things to attract more and more customers. They're innovating, and so it seems to me, I guess we should get used to the fact we're not going to have stores like a Yonkers and Penny's and these types of stores anymore. Those are a thing of the past. We're going to have more and more online shopping. And in towns like this, more and more small specialty shops are coming in. So I guess that's what we should be expecting. Because again, the online sellers they're innovating. They're finding new ways to deliver, new ways to attract people ongoing. And so that's what we're competing with, which is difficult, it seems to me, to compete with. So the future is not the Pennies and the Yonkers, it's the small specialty shops that appeal to little niches of customers. And that's what we should expect here in a lot of the country, I guess.
Yeah, and the one area that we have potential to move the demand in our favor, we have X number of people that live in the area, the resident population, but then there's the external population that we could be able to capture, specifically the clinic and the visitors to the hospital, and tourists that come through the area in the summertime. These are external dollars that we need to find a way to capture here. I just brought along the Mayo Clinic's Rochester, Minnesota's listing of retail and services in restaurants in downtown Rochester. Rochester's not a big town. Of course, the clinic is a big clinic, but they have down to a science in terms of going there and comfort foods, gifts and shops and clothing that you wouldn't normally find in a town, but they do that to make the experience for the visitor more bearable.
Just a real quick thing, there's 2 things I have to say. As far as retail goes, I was in retail in this town but 34 years. So I worked in the downtown, I worked in the mall, I worked standalone. And what I can tell you right now that I've seen through 30-some years in being in retail is stimulus is what has changed. When the mayor was talking about experience, it's stimulus. People's stimulus is that's all it's about right now. And it's a cycle. Like I said, I was in downtown when everybody was going to the mall. And now all of a sudden, downtown's coming back. And the mall's not doing well. I think it's just we're evolving. And we're in a society of high stimulus, and this is what's creating it. The one thing I had a question for Rita was, when we're talking about housing, what I've noticed, and just a question, maybe you can verify this, is you're talking about building lots and building. What I think the new generation is doing, because my own kids did this, they all want new homes. I started with a mobile home, and then I went up to an old house that we fixed up, and are you seeing that same thing, or is that what's changing in the housing industry in that sense? Because I have 2 homes near where I live right now that are really nice ranch homes, and they've been for sale all year, and they can't sell them.
Do they have 2-car garages?
Yeah. But one was probably built in the early 90s, one was probably built in the late 70s, so do you see that change in housing yourself too, or not?
The first-time homebuyers are totally different from what they used to be. They want nice today. They don't want to have to do any work on it.
Yeah.
It used to be, what, 50 to 100,000. Now, first-time homebuyers are 200, 150 to 250. And they've got the money. Our economy is good. Interest rates are phenomenal. Bob, how many first-time homebuyers do you have what's your price range?
Anywhere, you're exactly right, between 150 and 250 to 300. You go in these problems with their properties with no money down or 3% down.
Yeah, and that's what they want now, and they'll hold off and they'll rent. And that's
Before
why.
they'll buy that house.
Before they do that, they'll go rent something until they have the money to go buy the house that they really want. They don't wanna have to fix it up, they don't wanna have to do any of that. In Marshfield, though, we're very fortunate, because there are houses that haven't sold, but most of them do have offers on it. Some are contingent on a sale of another home, too. So, you get the, you get the 2-3 domino effect. So sometimes, ask me later what those addresses are, and I'll tell you if they've had offers on them or not. Because they could be sitting there waiting for something else to sell.
As a first-time home buyer in the millennial, I want to say, it might be too that there's less people that have the fix-it-up mentality or ability. Because I know my husband and I certainly, so we wanted it done pretty much. Turnkey.
Well, I go down to the, one of the many groups in McDonald's that's trying to solve the world's problems.
Perfect.
And one of the things that does get talked about is there's lots of new apartments in Marshfield, but the rent in these apartments is still in a fairly high amounts. We're looking at a lot of them are 4 figures, $1,000 or more. And there still are a lot of individuals and a lot of jobs in Marshfield that only pay $12 or $13 an hour, which means they're only making $2,400, $2,500 a month. Take out their taxes, take out their other things like this. They're getting down to the point that if they're paying $1,000 or $1,200 a month, it doesn't leave them a lot of living money, or to buy their car, or to pay for their kids, or things like this. Is there anything going on that works to help those individuals who are in those non-$17, $19 an hour range, to give them the apartments or places to stay in town that are, in their price range?
I don't think you could build, if you look at it from the builder standpoint, you can't build it and not charge that for the rents, because that's the cost of building today. To build something is expensive. To build a new home is very expensive. All those apartments have waiting lists.
Yep.
They're
Well,
gonna
I
be full.
understand that, but what I'm saying is, that's why you were saying we have people driving from places, because they can afford to live in Medford and drive down here and work, but then they're gonna go back to Medford and spend their money, because they wanna get home as soon as they get done with work. And places like this, because there are no places in town for the lower income workers. And
Well, there are, but the issue with those new units that have gone up, as Rita says, it's the cost to do those. And
I understand.
the demand for those is very high. There are places that are affordable. They're just not brand new.
Yeah, well,
That's, you know what I mean? There's
That's what I wondered,
$400,
what's
$500,
available in
$600, $700
Yeah.
apartments, or very, very small homes. The issue that is they're not brand new. And we are in a society right now that wants everything that we want right now. So to your point, the reason those are all going up is the demand is there. They did a housing study several years ago, and we needed that.
Well, I had heard that, there's a waiting list for
Yeah.
most of them to get into it. The people I know there think they're very nice, but.
And you're seeing this in downtown. There's a lot of affordable stuff there, but you're seeing a lot of those apartments that are up there, you're seeing the landlords really update those. And you will see those, because again, supply and demand. Some people want to live in the downtown where there's things going on and be able to walk down and get their coffee or their Danish at 2.5 cups or whatever, and then walk back upstairs. But you're even seeing those that have typically been very, very on the lower side from a rent perspective. Those are getting gussied up a lot, and which will get higher rents.
There's also an apartment association in town. I don't know if everybody's aware of that. There is an organized group of apartment owners, and that ranges from, as the mayor mentioned, from new facilities to existing facilities. And so there are opportunities for people to see what the full range of living arrangements that are available here in the community.
Would that be something at Mackey or?
Yes, they actually have their own website too, so I think it's Marshfield Area Apartment Association. So if you Googled that, they provide us with a flyer, so every new visitor or new resident packet that we hand out has that information in it.
And they do everything from apartments, homes,
Yep.
that are, and some of them are very,
Oh yeah.
very
Very nice,
affordable.
yep, and very nice facilities.
You pointed out that, people here might go to Appleton or Wausau or wherever to shop. And I'm just going to add that he mentioned people from Medford coming here to work. People from Greenwood, Spencer.
Mhm.
You don't have a grocery store in Spencer. You don't have a grocery store in Loyal. You don't have a grocery store in Greenwood. I think there's one left in Neillsville. So then people are all coming here to shop too. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Mhm.
We're also an island for those people coming
Exactly.
this way.
And how that relates to us, because you're exactly right. A lot of people come here, Medford and all these surrounding cities, and they come in, they drive, they go to festival, they get their groceries, they go do all that stuff, and then they drive out. And then the folks that live here, through our tax base, we have to take care of these roads. I think it's 15 to 20,000 unique visitors to Marshfield a day that come in and go out, and so that's more wear and tear on your, more wear and tear on your roads. And those are all things, those are just quiet things that you don't typically, really put into the calculation, but it really does affect it.
I think we have time for one or two more.
When you're talking about residential lots available in Marshfield, that's what I'm assuming, you're talking in the city limits.
In the city.
So are there possibilities outside of that? I mean, how far would people drive that would they be comfortable in going to work?
Well, I think our focus is to stay in the city to create the tax base. Part of our recent housing study this past year was looking at the cost of development in the city versus the cost of development outside the city. One of the things that we have to take care of in Marshfield is we have to provide storm sewer, sanitary, and water. Those are things that they don't have to provide in the township. They have wells and holding tanks. But when you factor in the cost, and people say, well, the taxes are more in Marshfield versus the township, the taxes are more, but the long-term living costs are often either comparable or more expensive in the town because you have to pay for pumping out your holding tank, and it's more expensive to do that than to get on city sewer. So we're focused on, obviously expanding the housing, the available lots in Marshfield. And there's a lot of room right now. We don't have to necessarily annex properties or bring properties in from the townships to do that. There's plenty of available room in the city right now. We just have to get the infrastructure there to serve the lots.
I've heard a lot about the declining, the workforce development issues and concerns this evening. And one of the things I guess I think about is how do we market Marshfield beyond Marshfield? I mean, I think about the declining enrollment in our schools. We also are seeing an aging demographic, you mentioned it, Scott, throughout the state. Where are these workers going to come from that we are needing to have in Marshfield? Do we need to market Marshfield beyond the state of Wisconsin?
We already are.
How are we doing that?
We're working in conjunction with our partners. It's a multi-layered effect. The state of Wisconsin has already been, for the last couple of years, had a very targeted marketing aspect to recruit people to the state of Wisconsin. That's been going on. It's been very successful. They started as a pilot program hitting some key urban centers here in the Midwest, Chicago, Twin Cities, St. Louis, just to name a few. So we're getting in front of those people, encouraging them to move to Wisconsin. Quality of life, cost of living, opportunities are much better here than they may see in Chicago. Commute times, absolutely. The hour they spend commuting back and forth to work in Chicago, it's more free time at home. They can be hitting a bike trail, or they can be cooking out, spending more time with their kids. So we're all locally working in conjunction with the state at that aspect. So as the state is successful in attracting people to Wisconsin, then we take from our regional efforts. There's a regional organization called Synergy, Regional Economic Development. There's 9 of them throughout the state. We're part of that group. That organization then works to take those people who are interested in Wisconsin now and say, all right, let's get you interested in central Wisconsin now that you're talking about coming to Wisconsin. So then as we're successful in getting them interested in central Wisconsin, then each of us as communities within this region are saying, we as Marshfield are saying, all right, you're interested in central Wisconsin, now let me tell you about Marshfield and the great opportunity you're going to have living and working here in Marshfield. So that's the effort that's being undertaken, and it's a targeted aspect. We're looking at, as I mentioned, we're recruiting in these major urban centers. We're recruiting with military individuals who are timing out of the military. There's about, I think it's about 8,000 plus of them a year that, no, there's more than that, that time out of the military. We're getting in front of them. The government pays for their one last move, so we're getting in front of them to get them to move to Wisconsin. Wisconsin also has, as a state, the most benefits available to veterans. And then we're also targeting UW University alumni. So not just UW-Madison, but UW alumni to come back to the state of Wisconsin. So we're seeing some success happening with that. We just need to continue to grow and continue to focus on that. We're also getting a lot of buy-in. Our business, our private sector is active participants in this as well. So yes, we do need to change those trends. Now, one of the problems is that it isn't just a state problem with the aging aspect going on. If you follow birth rates, the United States birth rate is 1.8. Well, that's not fulfilling we're not staying status quo, are we? Most of the industrialized world is even less than what the United States is. So this is a phenomenon that's going on all over the world right now, is that there's a very low birth rates going on. There are certain pockets, certain countries that are well above 2, but that's some of the aspects of trying to see, is that an opportunity for immigration for those people to come to the United States to help buttress some of that shortage that we're looking at. But yeah, we're in a demographic mode right now where we've got the baby boomers, which are, depending upon what number you see, about 79 million. You've got the Gen Xers that are about 44 million, and then you've got the millennials, which are 81 million. Well, most of the millennials now are just starting to come into the workforce, or in the workforce, or not completely immersed in the workforce. And 10,000 baby boomers a day are retiring, so that presents quite a problem for the workforce. So those are some of the issues that we're all trying to deal with. And so long term, we just need to have more people. We need to have more babies to have that.
That's a whole other seminar.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. But that's our long-term solution. In the short term, it's a case of we're basically stealing people from other places, basically, to fix our needs here to be sustainable. And so that's going to continue on for quite a while here. as we do that. I know you've been very involved, from the education standpoint. There's another big drop coming in a couple of years at the K-12 level. So every year now, we're losing a few hundred students, fewer less graduating each year, and there's another big drop coming in a couple of years. So that's what employers right now are trying to deal with, and that's what my organization that works with them on a regular basis is trying to come up with potential solutions to that. And like I said, the one solution, which is an 18-year plus solution, is having more kids. Short term of that is how do we attract more people to our area, and the other aspect is how do we do more with less people. And so the advent of technology is critical to that aspect as well. And that's, the mayor mentioned it, it's not just some of the convenience things that some of these stores are adding self-checkouts. It's because they have to. They don't have enough, they can't hire enough people to man their stores. Our manufacturers are doing the same thing. They can't hire enough people, so they've got to find ways that technology supplements the people that they have in order to keep production levels growing.
We also have our visitors and the CVB Convention and Visitors Bureau that does a lot. And we just had recently, about a month ago, John McGivern from Around the Corner, if any of you have seen his show on PBS. They were here and they taped a show about a month ago, and that's going to be on in either late March or April, and it's going to be all about Marshfield. So we will get statewide, I believe that's going to be a thing, but a lot of what you're talking about, our CVB is doing, and in the city, we're doing that as well.
That's a great point, Mayor, because we look at every visitor to Marshfield as a potential new resident. And so that's why the more visitors the CVB can attract to the community, the more potential new residents we have.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because we're a little over time. I just wanted to make sure we got everybody's input. I want to thank our guest speakers for all of their knowledge and insight. If we could give them a round of applause.